All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and the Washington Commanders are bringing in wide receiver Michael Gallup for a workout tomorrow. We're going to dive into that. Is he a potentially good option there? Also, Kupp is slated to get cut. We're going to break him down as well and why I feel like he could be a pretty good slot wide receiver for us this season. I'm going to give y'all just a general free agency update for the wide receiver group. Also, I want to give y'all my top 2 free agents that are available out there regardless of position and why I feel like we need to go get both of those guys. And I want to update y'all on all of the re-signed free agents that the Commanders have still available that were on that 2024 Commanders roster, which ones I want to bring back and why. And before we get into everything, first of all, you already know I got the trivia question for the day, and I promise y'all I'm still working on the Jevon video. It is on the way, but I'm trying to do my best job of trying to make sure everybody sees like the glass half full side of it. But the trivia question for today, I'll give you the answer at the end of the video. What reserve wideout averaged 7.8 yards on a team leading 40 punt returns for the Commanders in 2022? Why does this include so many 2022 questions? Like, when are we bounce around from other times in Burgundy and Gold history, but generally it's a lot of 2022. Hopefully we get out of that. It's just too many days in a year for us to consistently be asking 2022 questions. We weren't that good that year. But out of the way, before we get into everything, make sure you stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, and stiff on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned. I'm gonna keep y'all updated on everything Burgundy and Gold. Again, your one-stop shop for everything, even if it's just rumors, reports, signings, re-signings, anything, trades. I got y'all covered. Everything Burgundy and Gold. Without further ado, let's go and dive into this video right now. Adam. All right, so apparently the Commanders are hosting free agent wide receiver for a visit, Michael Gallup. Ian Rappaport was the first to report it. He said the Commanders are hosting wide receiver Michael Gallup on a visit tomorrow. So we won't get a conclusion on any of this until tomorrow. So mind you, whether we sign him or don't sign him, you're not going to know until, at the very least, until a certain point tomorrow. So don't expect for us to sign him tonight, even if you want him really bad. But Ian Rappaport did point out the fact that there is a ton of familiarity on that staff, especially with Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr. and guys like that. But also, Ian Rappaport reminded me of something. That this is the same guy who abruptly retired last offseason, but apparently he intends to make a comeback per his agent Kevin Robinson. The Raiders are releasing him from their reserve injured list today so that he can make whatever comeback he wants to do. And he's only 29 years old. He's not that old, but I mean, that random retirement out of nowhere does scare me. It's some sort of a red flag in my opinion. And also, through his career with the Cowboys, he caught 266 passes and averaged 14.1 yards per catch in 6 years with the Cowboys. That's not that bad. 14.1 yards per catch is pretty solid. That sounds like an explosive guy when you're looking at advanced stats. But at the same time, man, I mean, Michael Gallup at this point in his career, and you're looking at the guy that was one of his biggest fans the year that he was coming out of the draft. If you go back and look at that year when I was doing mock drafts and breaking down guys that the Burgundy and Gold should sign or draft, remember, I was a huge Michael Gallup fan. I was willing to take him like a whole round or two before he actually ended up going. So you're looking at the true Michael Gallup believer all the way since college, and I'm still not even exactly sure what you're going to get for him now. I mean, shouts out to Serge the Shooter, too. He being just as transparent as I am. He said, I used to get in shouting matches saying that he was the best option out of all of that Cowboys group that they had, and then CeeDee Lamb suddenly took off. And I mean, hey, I may not have been that high on him to where I thought he was necessarily better than CeeDee Lamb, but I was really high on Michael Gallup. I was sick when he ended up going to a division rival Cowboys instead of us. So me and Serge the Shooter, we were like, man, we were there from the beginning, but at the same time, right now, I don't know what Michael Gallup has left in him. I mean, shouts out to Mark Bullock. He straight up said, I'm not sure about this one. And then my boy Jamal Atlev Martella replied, nobody is. Probably a future practice squad superstar type of guy. That may be what it ends up being. Burgundy Blog said he gives me Martavis Bryant vibes. I wouldn't be surprised there. But you got to remember, man, this guy, when he was good, was pretty good. Back in 2021, he had a 73.4 overall offensive grade from Pro Football Focus, even though he only played in 147 snaps that year. I believe he kept getting hurt. But then the year that he played a lot of snaps in 2020, 349 of them, he still had a 66.3 grade. And in 2019, he had a 74 grade. Those are all pretty good, solid seasons for a wide receiver, especially compared to what we had last year. Like Michael Gallup being in like the low 70s, high 60s when he was at his best for the Cowboys just a couple of years ago, compared to Terry, who was an 82 last season. Great, elite wide receiver. Deebo Samuel was a 70.9. They feel like Michael Gallup, when he was playing well, was even better than what Deebo Samuel was last year. And then also compared to like a Luke McCaffrey, who was a 54.3 last year. Or even Olamide Zaccheaus. Last year had a 72 grade. Again, Pro Football Focus felt like Michael Gallup deserved a 73.4 in 2021 and a 74 in 2019, so they felt like he was even slightly better than what Olamide Zaccheaus gave us last year. And whether you agree or disagree with Pro Football Focus, I hope they're at least consistent. And if they feel like Michael Gallup in 2021 was better than what we got in 2024 Olamide Zaccheaus, then maybe there's something to that. I mean, but at the end of the day, man, I'm not expecting a lot out of this guy. But my main question is, since we're talking about familiarity, which, mind you, comes from the defensive side of the ball, not even the offensive side. We're talking about Dan Quinn Joe Jr., head coach, defensive-minded head coach, and defensive coordinator. Not like a wide receivers coach, not the offensive coordinator, not any type of connection to Michael Gallup in that way. So how about receivers that actually were here last year with this team on the offensive side of the ball, with this offensive coordinator that already has chemistry with our quarterback? I mean, is Michael Gallup actually truly better, especially today Michael Gallup? We're not talking about 2021. How about today's Michael Gallup? Is he better than what Olamide Zaccheaus and Jamison Crowder were for us last year? I'm intrigued. I'm not saying definitively that Gallup is worse than those two and not worth signing and giving an opportunity, but it's still a real question and concern. So this was more of just like a wait and see. But hey, I'm pretty sure he would at the very least go for like a vet minimum. So it doesn't cost us much. It's very low risk. Maybe there's potential high reward here that I'm not necessarily seeing. And I guess you're really just hoping that he can go back to his 2021 self, just like this next receiver that we're about to talk about. So now let's talk about Cooper Kupp and the fact that he's available. Before we get there though, even as glass half full as I am, there's just no way there's people out there that's more excited about potentially getting Michael Gallup than the possibility of getting Cooper Kupp if he's a free agent after he gets cut, and you don't have to trade for either of them. Just like Michael Gallup, Cooper Kupp is about to be a free agent that you don't have to give up draft picks to get. And I mean, Cooper Kupp may be slightly more expensive, but he's obviously the better player, even just as recently as 2024, even if you want to go back to 2023. The same year that both of those guys were playing, Michael Gallup was cool with like a low 60 grade, but and I'm even just going off of the highlights that I saw, he just wasn't the same him just a couple of years ago. Like that 73 grade that I was talking about again was back in 2021. Since then, Michael Gallup, and I'm going off of what I've seen on tape, I agree with Pro Football Focus here where they feel like he was worthy of low 60 grades for Dallas in 2022 and Dallas in 2023. Where is Cooper Kupp now? Come on, man. Dominant. Arguably best wide receiver in the NFL just in 2021, but he was still really good 2022, and I would still argue that he was pretty good in 2023. Well, now Adam Schefter just reported just a couple of hours ago that the Rams are planning to release wide receiver Cooper Kupp after the start of the new league year, which, mind you, is Wednesday at 12 p.m. unless a trade materializes. So again, just a heads up. That boy Michael Gallup is not coming in for a workout until tomorrow. We won't know anything until tomorrow at the very earliest. Cooper Kupp, same thing. He will not be released until the new league year, which is Wednesday, March 12th at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So we won't know anything as far as that goes until that moment at the very earliest as well. So this is not something that maybe overnight you wake up and then we sign one of these guys. Highly doubt it, but you never know. But shouts out to DC Sports Experience because he said, hey, sign Cooper Kupp for the cheap, stick him in the slot. He still knows how to find those areas, then bask in all of the other fans yelling, washed. They kept doing it with us last year with Zach Ertz, Bobby Wagner. Lo and behold, you see not only Zach Ertz play 20 games, but then he has a really good season. He's our second leading receiver. He exploded in the playoffs for nearly 300 receiving yards in 3 games in the playoffs at 34 years old. I'm not exactly sure why people think Cooper Kupp can't be literally the wide receiver version of Zach Ertz. Now, of course, if you're projecting Cooper Kupp to be your wide receiver too, then maybe I am a little nervous. But you already have Deebo Samuel, you already have Terry McLaurin with all of the attention that they're going to get, let alone Jaden Daniels using his legs, on top of Zach Ertz always being open and a safety blanket for Jaden Daniels to throw to. Cooper Kupp will always be open. Imagine Cooper Kupp going against the number 3 corner any given play. He's going to, I think Cooper Kupp can get open against number 2 corners right now, let alone the number 3. And Cooper Kupp is still only 32 years old by the time the season technically starts. And again, Zach Ertz is about to be 35 and we believe in him, but that's because this training staff, this physical therapy staff, whatever this medical staff did, they did a great job of taking the red flag Zach Ertz last season. Last year, this exact time when we signed Zach Ertz, a lot of people, including our fans, were saying, why would you sign a guy that's that injury prone? He's barely played the last few years. Next thing you know, he plays in all 20 games. Whatever load management they did, not forcing them to practice on Wednesdays all season, whatever they did, it worked. I'm not exactly sure why that couldn't work for Cooper Kupp, who at the end of the day still played a lot of games last year. He missed weeks 3 through 7 and then finished the rest of the season 8 through 17. It wasn't that bad. Now, granted, when he came back from injury, he wasn't as good as he was to start the year, but he was still pretty good and finished with a 72.1 Pro Football Focus overall grade. And he has great hands. His drop grade is always elite, except for the 2023 season for whatever reason. But I really don't think that people went and actually looked at his 2024 highlights. I really think people just are going off of what everybody else is saying. And again, maybe you're looking through the lens of a few months ago when we're talking about Cooper Kupp being brought here to be Terry McLaurin's right-hand man. Well, you know what? He no longer has to. You have Deebo Samuel already that's going to get a lot of attention. Cooper Kupp is always going to be open with an offense that has Jaden Daniels at quarterback, Terry McLaurin on one side, and Deebo Samuel on the other. And you can't forget that in 2021, he was arguably the best player in the entire NFL. And then in 2022, he still had an 86.3 per Football Focus grade, still one of the best receivers in the entire NFL, even while missing some games. And in 2023, still played pretty well, missed some games, and the same thing with 2024. You know what? F it. Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, and Michael Gallup, so we can have the 2021 all-star receiving roster right there. I mean, because those were arguably all of those receivers' best years, and I believe in Jaden Daniels enough to turn that clock back on those guys at least about 4 years, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm kidding, but in all seriousness, if we were really to go with that receiver group, at the very least, it's better than what we had last year. Terry on the outside on one side, Deebo on the other side, other outside spot being moved around, and Cooper Kupp was better again than in 2024 than a lot of people are giving him credit for. If y'all actually just go to YouTube and type in Cooper Kupp 2024 highlights, I promise you, you will be perfectly fine with him being your starting slot corner, especially now that we already missed out on Christian Kirk. Probably the best that you can do that's available in free agency right now is Cooper Kupp, and you can probably get him for very cheap. I'm wondering what his market is right now. Can't be very much, since the Rams have been trying to trade him for months, since before the combine, well before the combine, and nobody's been willing to trade for him, to the point that they're just like, all right, we're just going to cut him on Wednesday as soon as the new league year starts at 12 p.m. We're just sick of it. We're just trying to get the cap space so we can go do what we need to do. If y'all don't want to trade for him, cool. We're just going to cut him at the end of the day. Basically like what we had to do with Jonathan Allen. Nobody wanted to trade for him. We got ahead of it. I don't know why the Rams are waiting, but we were like, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and cut Jonathan Allen now so we can go ahead and make the moves that we need to make. The Rams are waiting a little bit longer, but again, I don't see why Cooper Kupp could not be at least a really good third option for us right now. And then that's not even including Zach Ertz on the field at the same time. Plus, whatever we may do as far as running back goes, we can bring in like a Quinton Junkins, Travion Henderson, or a Marion Hampton. Now, defense has got to worry about that home run threat there as well. I don't see why he won't be open every third down that we need him. He'll, at the very least, I'm telling you right now, you can't go to those 2024 highlights of Cooper Kupp and tell me he's not at least better than Olamide Zaccheaus, Jamison Crowder, Luke McCaffrey, and maybe even arguably Noah Brown, even from the times that he was healthy and playing well for us. And then we'll see, I guess, if Michael Gallup even makes the 53-man roster, I guess. And so now moving on, my top free agents left that I really, really want, short, sweet, straight to the point, man. Since we lost Jeremy Chin, I would love Jevon Holland at safety from the Miami Dolphins, who honestly was safety #1 available in all of free agency before anybody ever got signed out of all of the safeties. Even before Jeremy Chin left, I thought Jevon Holland was the better safety out of every safety available, even including Talanoa Hufanga. The problem is, I just feel like Jevon Holland is going to come off of a big price tag. Maybe that's why he's waiting, but a lot of teams are signing safeties right now. We still need one. We may be that team that's negotiating and trying to outbid other teams to get them right now. And I know Jevon Holland is coming off of a down year, but I feel like that's more of like an outlier than like an indication of where his career is headed right now. And arguably the best free safety in the NFL before the 2024 season started. And then he would also allow Quan Martin to go back to being more so in the box, which I think Quan Martin is better at because he's not that rangy. And then Jevon would take over to be the best natural free safety, rangy type of free safety that we've had in a long time. I mean, again, I love Quan, but he doesn't have a lot of range. I feel like he's great in the box. I feel like he's very versatile. I feel like he's very explosive, but he's not like a super rangy, you can leave him single high free safety type of guy. You could do that with Jevon Holland, which would allow us to put more players, stack the box to stop the run and things like that. He would help us in so many different ways. I miss Jeremy Chin and I love Quan Martin, but Jevon Holland is better than both of them. And at the same time, Jevon is only 25 years old, may have their best years ahead of them. These could be moves, probably expensive though, but these are moves that where we would get better and young at the same time. So I just feel like it's a win-win. You got to remember, Jevon Holland, at the end of that 2023 season, Pro Football Focus had him ranked 60th out of all players in the NFL, higher than Lane Johnson, DeVorest Buckner that season, CJ Mosley, Deebo Samuel, Daniil Hunter, DJ Moore, Roquan Smith, Jalen Carter, Joe Tooney, Tyrann Mathieu, Tyron Smith, Jalen Hurts, a lot of great players. Devon Witherspoon, Derek Stingley Jr. They had Jevon Holland ranked higher than all of those guys just as recently before the previous season. They also said Holland missed some time during the season, but when he was on the field, he was once again a force for the Dolphins. He earned an 89.9 Pro Football Focus coverage grade and forced 3 fumbles despite lining up deep at free safety or covering the slot on the majority of his snaps. That is extremely impressive. Also, you have Brandon over there at J Daniels MVP. He tweeted, "Sources tell me that Adam Peters is in the kitchen as we speak." I'm not sure if he's just trolling. I'm not sure if he's just being a fan, but maybe we're not done. And I would go on to say that, hey, man, maybe we aren't done. I think we're still cooking up. We still have a lot of cap space remaining. Don't be surprised if we at least get one of those 2 guys that I asked for. And then also, I just got a breaking news report that the 49ers are finally releasing fullback Kyle Juszczyk. This is an end of an era. They traded away Deebo. They lost a lot of their great players. They're like down like 7-8 starters just from last year alone. That is, man, the 49ers, you're not even going to be able to recognize them next year. But moving on, the last part of this video that I wanted to discuss is that the Commanders still have 21 of our 2024 players that are still free agents that we could bring back and re-sign. Of course, the biggest names are Dante Fowler, who right now, maybe the bridges have been burned after that Twitter rant, but I don't think he's very likely. I would still like to bring him back for very cheap, but it seems like he's going to hold his ground and try to get more money elsewhere. We'll see. Then Marcus Mariota as a backup quarterback, would love to, but it depends on the price tag. If another team wants to pay him more, he can go ahead, and I'm pretty sure another team will offer him an opportunity to compete for a starting quarterback spot, which he cannot get here with Jaden Daniels as your definitive starting quarterback. We already know that. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL already. There's no quarterback competition here. But if another team wanted to offer him money, I would love to have him back. I mean, I really would, man. Marcus Mariota is a backup for another year. He played really well in that Panthers game, and then he was so clutch in that final game of the season against the Cowboys. He was literally the entire offense that game against the Cowboys. So I would love to bring him back, but it depends on the price tag. Same thing with Cornelius Lucas. Depends on the price tag. As a backup swing tackle, I like him. We'll see where that price tag is. I think that's the type of guy you end up re-signing maybe a few days from now. And then also, how about Noah Benogany? I think we should sign him back even if we do get Byron Murphy. I think that's more of a priority than a lot of people are going to give him credit for, as far as like Noah Benogany was really solid as a slot corner last year. And I think at the very least, you should bring him in to be a part of our depth. Right now, we don't have any depth at all. We have nobody in our cornerback group right now. I hope y'all realize that. Like, technically, it's Mike Sanderstill, Marshawn Lattimore, and then you have Alan George and Bobby Price as like camp bodies that are clearly not making the 53-man roster, I'm assuming. So we need to still build a cornerback group right now, just like the receiver group, where we literally don't even have like a whole starting wide receiver core that's ready to go out there and play right now. If you just look at the roster with the fact that Olamide Zaccheaus, Jamison Crowder, Noah Brown, none of these guys are re-signed. De'Ami Brown just left. We technically only have 3 receivers on roster with Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel. Same thing with the cornerback group. It's Mike Sanford, Marshawn Lattimore, and 2 names that you probably shouldn't even try that hard to remember right now. So I think Noah Benogany just makes way too much sense to bring back, because at the very least, he's a really good depth player. And when you look at the advanced stats, he was arguably one of the better slot corners in the NFL last year at times. Some games he looked a little but some games he stepped up big time for us, and I would definitely bring him back. Out of that group of 4 names, Dante Fowler, Marcus Mariota, Cornelius Lucas, and Noah Benogany, I think Marcus Mariota and Noah Benogany will be my highest priorities, but I just feel like Marcus Mariota is destined to leave. And so I'm looking at Cornelius Lucas as, hey, I will bring you back to it. And then Dante Fowler, if the bridges are not burned and he's willing to come here for a really cheap contract, bring him back too. I would bring back all 4 guys, but Noah Benogany is probably the biggest priority out of that whole group before I just gave you. But yeah, man, that's it in this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. Really appreciate you, man. If you made it this far in the video, you are the GOAT. I salute to you, because this isn't like the most exciting video update. So I really appreciate y'all for even making it all the way through. And to reward you, the answer to the trivia question was Dax Milne. See what I'm saying? Like, we shouldn't be to the point where we have all of these 2022 questions and now I'm giving y'all Dax Milne facts. So I don't know, man. This calendar got to do better. It's not me, it's the calendar. It's the daily calendar where I have a different trivia question, a fun fact for every day. It's on them, it's not me. But of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about Michael Gallup, how you feel about Cooper Kupp, how do you feel, like, who are your top free agents available? Do you agree with me on Jevon, Holland, and Byron Murphy at safety and corner, or do you have other options out there that you want really bad at other positions, maybe at the same positions? Let me know. Are y'all one of the types of people that loves Asante Samuel Jr.? You're hoping that we get in there, because there are reports right now that a lot of teams are fighting over him. Maybe we're one of them. We do have Tim Donatel here. He was his previous defensive backs coach back in 2023 before we brought him over to be our defensive backs coach in 2024. So maybe Tim Donatel's putting in a good word for him. We'll probably maybe discuss that and dive into that deeper in another video, especially if we end up signing him or something. So let me know how y'all feel about all of the free agents available, including the 21 free agents from the 2024 Commanders that are available for us to re-sign. Let me know how y'all feel about all of those guys as well. I really appreciate y'all. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. Again, I'm gonna have y'all updated on every little thing, and I'm still working on the Jevon Kinlaw video. I promise you it's on the way, more than likely by tonight. Really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.